A full blown trade war between the US and China is back on the table, and this time it's fiercer than ever. US President Donald Trump has slapped a massive 104% tariff on Chinese imports. In response, China says it will fight to the end and is hiking its tariffs on American goods from 34% to 84%. Neither side is backing down, and the global economy is bracing for impact. But what does this tit for tat mean in practical terms? And what exactly do these two superpowers trade with each other? And who stands to lose the most? Let's start with the numbers. In 2024, total trade in goods between the US and China reached $585 billion. Of this, the US imported $440 billion worth of goods from China while exporting just $145 billion to China. That left the US with a $295 billion trade deficit, equivalent to around 1% of its economy. Despite this, Trump has been claiming a $1 trillion deficit, a number experts say is widely exaggerated. Now, let's look at what's actually crossing borders. The biggest item? Smartphones. They make up 9% of all US imports from China, and many of these are assembled in China for Apple, a US company. Other key Chinese exports to the US include electronics and computers, toys, batteries, especially critical for electric vehicles, solar panels, although many are rerouted through Southeast Asia to dodge tariffs. And these aren't just low cost items. Many of them are core components for US industries, especially tech and consumer electronics. The result, these new tariffs will make all of these items significantly more expensive for American consumers. The original 20% tariff had already raised costs. With the 104% rate, the price shock could be 5 times worse. And it's already hitting the stock market. Apple's share price has dropped 20% in the last month, in part due to its deep supply chain links with China. The biggest US export to China? Soybeans, mainly used to feed China's massive 440 million pig population. Other major exports include pharmaceuticals, petroleum, aircraft parts, and medical devices. So while the US gets gadgets and gear, China gets food, fuel, and drugs. But that balance is also vulnerable. With retaliatory tariffs climbing to 84%, American agricultural exports like soybeans will become more expensive for Chinese buyers, potentially hurting US farmers already reliant on Chinese demand. While US reliance on Chinese imports has dropped from 21% of total imports in 2016 to 13% now, experts say some Chinese goods are simply being rerouted through Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia. In fact, the US Commerce Department found that Chinese solar panel makers were assembling goods in these Southeast Asian countries and then shipping them to the US to avoid direct tariffs. Now, Trump's team says it will impose reciprocal tariffs on these countries too, which could make a whole range of China origin goods even more expensive. There are non tariff weapons as well. China dominates the global supply chain for rare earths, germanium and gallium, key ingredients in military hardware, radar systems, and even your smartphone. Beijing could restrict access to these, targeting US defense and tech industries. On the other side, the US could intensify its tech blockade, denying China access to advanced microchips vital for artificial intelligence and other next gen technologies, something China still can't fully produce on its own. There's also talk that the US may pressure allies like Mexico, Cambodia, and Vietnam not to trade with China or face consequences when accessing the American market. This isn't just a story of tariffs, it's about smartphones and soybeans, solar panels and rare earths, consumer pain, and global ripple effects. Neither Washington nor Beijing looks ready to blink, and as tariffs climb higher and trade routes twist and tangle, it's the consumers, businesses, and supply chains on the both sides of the Pacific and beyond who will feel the heat. This trade war is not just about money, it's about control, power, and the future of global commerce. Stay tuned for more updates.